All right.
All right. Good afternoon. The time is 4:30 p.m. Welcome to the Athens-Clarke County Board of Elections and Voter Registration. The date is April 9th. We're at 120 West Doherty Street. First item on the agenda is to adopt the agenda. Floor is open for a motion to adopt.
I so move.
Okay.
Now second.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I wanted to propose an amendment to the agenda.
Okay.
When I had drafted the agenda, I had forgotten a meeting that I was not able to attend where we discussed the advanced voting dates and times. That was, so I had kept that on there thinking that we had not resolved that yet. I don't have any reason to keep that on there. I was the one who put it on there. From getting minutes ready for March 18th, y'all had taken care of that. So unless y'all wanted to keep that on there for some more discussion, I would just like to amend the agenda by removing that. If that would be okay with y'all.
Fine with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So as a friendly amendment, can we adopt the agenda with that item of new business taken out?
Yeah.
All right. All those in favor of that amendment? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Agenda is adopted unanimously. In front of you are 4 sets of minutes. March 12th, March 18th, March 26th, and April 1st. Take a moment to review. The floor is open for a motion to approve as a set or a change to be made. And could the attorney's office look at the minutes from April 1st in the packet, just to make sure we're following those? Since that meeting was a little bit different than normal.
What I would say is that the minutes are not intended to be a record of any hearings. I think there's actually quite a great deal of detail, more than is technically required by Robert the Order. So I don't have any concerns about the minutes.
Okay. Should that one document that we prepared and filled out and gave to the challengees be included in filing, or does that need to be?
I don't think it needs to be attached to the minutes. It certainly is part of the Board of Elections records.
Okay.
You're meaning the decision document, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, it would need to be kept as record related to the hearing.
All right. Floor is open for motion.
I move that we approve the minutes from the March 12th meeting, March 18th meeting, March 26th meeting, and the April 1st meetings.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion Shirley, second Mr. Kadir. All those in favor of approving the minutes, the 4 sets of minutes in front of us, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Okay, next item on the agenda is public comment. There she is, behind the podium. Any members of the public wish to make a comment?
I do. I signed in.
All right. One moment. I'll set my timer because I know you tend to go over.
You do.
All right, go for it.
So I'm Jacqueline Elsner, 315 Caldwell Circle, Athens. And I want to thank the board. I've attended most of y'all's meetings in person, in the month of March, and I watched the April 1 meeting, YouTube, which I much appreciate that these are available for citizens to look at. And so I really want to tell you, I appreciate how y'all very carefully considered everybody's requests and everything that's been presented to you. And you've had very respectful discussion among yourselves and, come to your decisions. And the other thing, I've been talking to some voters about the May 21 primary, because we live it. But there's so many people, they don't even know this is gonna happen. What is it talking about? They're new to Athens in the past 2, 3 years. They've lived in another state. They've lived under and voted under different state rules. And they're like, really? Is that how we do in Georgia? So it's just, our work is very important. And it just and I've been trying to say, well, take an absentee ballot. If you're gonna be traveling, oh, May 21, you're gonna be in the American West. That's great, but get an absentee ballot. So it's just amazing that, as hard as y'all work to get the word out, and the other community people, the candidates are getting the word out, it just seems to be they're living their lives rather than thinking about the election. So, but thank you for all your work.
Thank
For
you.
your comments. All right. Doesn't appear as there are people wishing to make a comment. So we will move on to the director's update.
Good afternoon, board. How are you?
Hi.
Hi.
Good. So the first thing that I have is the activity report. And I would like to make note that we now have a total of 82,075 eligible voters. That number adds up to be 59,223 active and 12,852 who are inactive. We have a total of 253 cancellations, which were higher than what we had last month, of course. And that cancellation total is 253, of which 118 are deceased removed, and then 135 removed because of felons. We have issued 13 voter IDs, and that is what we have for our activity report for this month, or excuse me, for the month of March. The next item is regarding the department's focus, one being the Spanish translation project goals. We are still working towards having more signs and correspondences ready by the May election. And so we're headed that way. We will have more. Won't be just to vote here signs as we have in the community.
They were beautiful.
Yes. The other item is the November ballots. I just wanted to make note that I have spoken with just one of our print vendors, and I'm told that at least, to the most, 99% of the counties who have multilingual ballots, they have the translations on one ballot. So it wouldn't be that a voter, if they were requesting an absentee ballot, they wouldn't select that they're wanting an absentee ballot in Spanish or English. The ballot would have Spanish and English on the same ballot. The translation would be under the English translation. And then I wanted to mention that because we need to keep in mind that we will become more like a lot of counties now who have 2 and 3 pages. Well, we now have 2 pages front and back, but our ballot in November could be 3 pages long instead of 2. And then in a general primary, we would have a 4-page ballot rather than a 2-page ballot, being front and back. So that's something that we need to prepare for. That means postage would be higher for returning the ballots. That would mean postage would cost more for us sending the ballots. And I'm speaking specifically of the absentee ballots. It does create a longer ballot for the ballot marking devices that we will see. And that's something that I have to get clarity on, because I imagine that it would be when you walk into to check in during advanced voting and on election day, you would select if you're receiving an absentee ballot, a ballot in Spanish or English. And then only that particular version would pop up on the screen, but I'm not sure how that works. So that's another conversation that I would need to have and to find out. But we have a little time to do that. That's what we'll be looking at in November. The next item is preparing for the general primary, and Lisa's gonna give you an update on where we are as far as LNA and poll worker training.
All right, so hello, board. We started LNA on Monday. We are doing it slightly different this way because we don't have all of the data yet from the state, but we advertised the date to start, so we needed to start. So we're doing preventative maintenance on the equipment and just doing other preparation activities until we get all of the data that we need. Expect Thursday or Friday to have that, and then we'll just keep continuing with testing the equipment until we're finished. Poll worker training starts on this Saturday and runs through the 25th. We have training most every single day except for the holiday that falls during that weekend and one Sunday. But we do have training on one Sunday because we realized we needed it. You're welcome to come to any of those classes that you want to come to. They're a little bit longer this time because we're not doing online training. So would be there for 4 to 5 hours if you come for the entire thing. And bring your food because there's a half an hour meal break. We are about 90% staffed for the election. Advanced voting is completely staffed. Election day is lagging behind a little bit, but I am working diligently, calling people, sending constant emails to get the people we have on staff to actually work. But it's the summer and people are going places. And I also asked them to commit to working the June election because there's no training required between the June and no time to train between the June and the May. So some people have struggled with not wanting to make that total commitment just in case, but we're almost there and I think that we'll be fine. Thank you, Lisa.
Okay, the next item is early and advanced voting. I wanted to bring to your attention that during the PPP election, the presidential preference primary, there were some exchange of emails with me and Mayor Dodd, Mayor Farrell. And I wanted to kind of bring it to your attention. They did not quite understand that this was going to tie up the cultural center for such a time period. And because of that, it does put strains on their budget because that is one of their ways of getting some of their resources.
Mhm.
So I plead, I did plead with them to allow us to continue using the location, but I would bring it to your attention that maybe in November, we could look at a possible contingency, maybe no longer using Winterville as a advanced voting location. And because of that, I brought in some statistics for all of the elections since we started using Winterville. And I've done some calculations that from the Winterville Cultural Center, we have 2 advanced voting locations that are less than 6 miles away that we're currently using. Miriam-Moore Community Center is less than 5 miles from the Cultural Center. And then that's the Tennis Center. That's less than 5 miles from Cultural Center. And then Miriam-Moore is less than 6 miles from the Winterville Cultural Center. So I just want to bring that to your attention. Maybe we should consider another place to instead of the Winterville Cultural Center, or just rely on the other locations to take those fall of those voters. And again, I provided you the statistics for Winterville to show you how the numbers have really dropped for some reason at that particular location. So I want you to have that today. And something to just think about as we're moving towards the November election. The next item is the certification date for the May 21st, 2024 general primary election. I think we've talked about it a little, just a little bit of casual conversation of rather than having the certification date on Tuesday, May 28th, because Monday is a holiday. And because the fact that we have to have the election certified by 5 p.m. I would like to request that we certify the election on Friday at 6 p.m. of May 24th. And if that could be something that we do ongoing, is to certify at 6 p.m. on the Friday of the week, rather than holding off until Monday. This is not part of what I had on my agenda, but wanted to mention that we do have our billboards that will be going up soon. And we will start off with them being in English. In November, we will have a couple in Spanish, additional billboards. And we do have some upcoming advertisements that are coming up with radio stations. I believe tomorrow I will be on with Hattie Lawson at 1:30. And then later this week, I do have an interview or advertisements with, that's it, Mara. Next week with WXAG, yes.
And tomorrow with Cox.
Yeah, and then with Cox to be in.
Yes.
Yes.
2.7 FM.
And we did not have any open records requests during the month of March, but we will have some for April. We already have some there. It's worked out.
Is that a first time that you have gone a whole month without open?
Yes.
It was too good to be true.
So, yeah, so that's all I have. And if you have any comments or questions?
Yeah, we still had one early on.
Following in the footsteps of our guest speaker, Ms. Elsner, I thought it might be good for the people that are listening right now and that may, in the days to come, go to the website and listen to our hearing, our meeting here today. Maybe we could just give people a heads up on getting absentee ballots, what the process is and any timeline and such, just to kind of inform the public.
I think that's a great idea. If we could, maybe going towards the November election, maybe one of your meetings could include how to apply for an absentee ballot, what you do when you get your absentee ballot, when's the best time to return the absentee ballot. Maybe include like maybe a 15-minute session of just, this is what you do. You know, you apply for it this particular day, this many days before the election.
I look forward to playing the how-to video you'll make before then, right?
Yes. To have that as well, working with our PIO as well as our inclusions department.
But to Ms. Till's point, let's make sure we make an emphasis on the,
Will we have this recording?
hold on. During the previous comment, let's make sure we emphasize the dates regarding absentee balloting for the 21st at the end. So we'll make an extra point. And then, what was the other question?
Our director is saying for November, she would like this little tutorial that her staff will create. How far ahead of the election will we have that? Will we have like in October? Would we have that?
I think it should be in September,
September.
because or it could be in October. Because your meeting would be the second week in October, and by that time, that's when everybody's paying attention. So we could do September, October.
See, October 25th is the deadline to request an absentee ballot, so anything up until then would be maybe not last minute though, but.
That's,
I'm sorry.
I have. I'm thinking it probably needs to be towards the end of August. Because applications for November, we start accepting those August 19th. So end of August or the first part of September is when it should go out. Definitely not in October when I've gotten hundreds and trying to correct errors.
Does that work for you?
So probably our October meeting would be a good time to have that, do you think? Our October meeting?
Yeah,
September.
to have it ready by the end.
September meeting?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Well,
Or some folks ahead of you,
Okay, I'm sorry.
if that's okay.
Yeah.
I think, did you have a question during, I know that Hank did.
Yeah, you can go ahead if you like.
It doesn't matter.
Well, I also want to echo Ms. Elsner's frustration. Yeah, people don't even know we have a May 21st election. And maybe down the road, we can consider having billboards and that more for the May 21st election than for the November election, which more people seem to be familiar with and are participating. I don't know if our budget will allow, but I would like to just, hopefully we can have that discussion down the road. Because when Ms. Elson was speaking, I can totally sense the frustration. My neighbor across the street doesn't know that we are having an election in May. And it's just, I really feel the local elections sometimes in ways affect our daily lives far more than even the national elections do. And hopefully next year we can come up with some ways for a little more awareness by the voters. I know it's not entirely our job. That's the best we can do. Just one question for Ms. McGon. If we did not get the full staffing, is 90% good enough?
Yes, 90% is fine. That basically means I'm just one person short at each precinct.
Okay.
We're good.
And if our secretary can put it down, maybe we should have a discussion for in one of the, maybe the next meeting about what to do if the winter location cannot take us. Y'all know my general view. I think the tennis center and Miriam Moore are good enough, but we should have a discussion. I'm open to listening to your views about it.
I wanted to mention the fact, and I really regret mentioning this, but for the mail-in ballots, I really think we should do a big push on it because at this point, the U.S. Postal Service mail management is not at its best, especially if that mail has to pass through the Palmetto Mail Facility. That's that big distribution center, and I've been looking at some of the figures on what's getting out of there and what's not. And I'm just afraid if we wait too far down the road, you know, to do a push on this, some of those ballots aren't going to get to us, period.
Is that all you had?
Yeah, can I also add that billboards will start the week of April 22nd.
Correct. Do you have any questions regarding the report?
I'm sorry, say that again. What's happening?
The billboards will start the week of April 22nd for the May election.
Oh, we do have that. Oh,
Yes,
wonderful.
it's just gonna be in Spanish in November,
Ah.
some in Spanish.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Excellent.
Director Sosby, you mentioned at the top of your report about the Spanish translation. What are we hoping that we'll arrive at for May in time? Like what kind of top 3 or 4 items that we're hoping to have translated?
There were signs for sure, not just outside, but inside, some of the inside signs that we have. And the correspondences that we send out to our voters. Now, if we don't have it all, we do want to have that all by November, but we are working towards having some of that added for the May election,
Gotcha.
May and June.
Gotcha. And do we know, I don't know, I guess the parties will have questions on the ballots. They're able to have questions on the primary ballot in May. So that's the one thing that I think would benefit from being translated. Do we hope to have a composite ballot ready, a sample ballot ready, translated, or is that little?
That's a good question. And so I could put that in as one of the things to be translated and see how it goes.
If there's room on the docket, so to speak, then I'd like that very much.
What, I'm sorry. To have a Spanish translation ballot, sample ballot. Now, it would not be the way the ballot would be in November, because in November, it would all be on the same.
Right.
But we can send it to our translation vendor and get them to translate.
And I'm thinking, I might be thinking inaccurately about this, but for president or governor or legislator, the translation of that is not as important to me as the wording of a ballot amendment or a measure, that kind of thing. And I don't know that we're going to have any on this November like that. But in May, we might have the party questions. And are there any local referenda that we know of that are?
We don't have any local referendums, but we do have 8 questions on the Democratic and the Republican
Okay.
ballot. And November, yes, there will be questions.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not sure how many of those will be.
Okay, thank you.
Great. I had a few questions too. Thanks for the update on the additional materials. On the November ballot, you're talking about the same with including it. Is that what other counties in Georgia are currently doing? Is the SEB and the secretary, does that follow all whatever rule may be in place?
Don't believe there are any rules in place for translation.
Okay. Because I know that you mentioned other states, your vendor mentioned other states are doing it. But I'm really interested in what Gwinnett and DeKalb are doing so that we're following what works best for Georgia voters. And who knows, there may be some arcane law that says you can't have 2 languages on there, so.
And that could be a federal law.
Okay,
About, but
Okay.
I would definitely look into.
Sure. I can add to that. While Charlotte was out on vacation, I had a conversation with our vendor, Fort Orange Press.
Mhm.
And the person that we work with there used to be the director in Gwinnett County. And she says their ballots were all on the Spanish and the English were all on the same ballot.
okay, well, there we go. All right, Lisa, you mentioned your 99%. We already talked about all that. Is that application, obviously it's too late and it's closed. When will it be back open for November or future elections?
Sometime in August, early September, we'll open it. If anyone is interested, I'm creating a list of people to contact when it does open.
Should they reach out to you? I have a couple of people that are interested and I said, well, I was informed that it's closed and there's nothing.
Tell them to email me and I'll put them on my list to let them know as soon as it's open.
Okay, great, thank you. And then back to the Winterville Cultural Center. It would still be election day there, correct? If we change the early voting, we don't have to go through all this 6 weeks and newspapers and all the other stuff we did for the election day precinct. Okay, that's what I thought. I wanted to confirm. And I'm not sure if it matters for anyone, but Friday, May 24th, I think is high school graduation. So I don't know if anyone related to that will need to be here for the qualifying. And that. All right. Yeah, the next item on the agenda is old business, of which there is none. Moving on, there is new business, which there is none. And the next item are announcements. Adam, Mr. Shirley, excuse me, would you read those and then let's make sure we emphasize the dates for absentee ballot.
Sure.
Related stuff.
Monday, April the 22nd is the last day to register to vote in time for the May election. It's also the first day absentee ballots may be mailed out for the May election. Monday, April the 29th, advanced voting begins for the May election. Friday, May the 10th is the last day to request an absentee ballot for the May election. Tuesday, May the 14th at 4:30 p.m. is our next regular meeting right here at 120 West Doherty Street. And Tuesday, May 21st is the last day to vote in the May election.
Okay. Are there any final questions, comments? Concerns? All right, the floor is open to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
Motion is Fambro, second Mr. Kadir. All those in favor of adjourning? Say aye. Opposed? No.